Shalom. So we're starting a new book, the book of Shemot, Exodus. Shemot, in fact, means names, and it alludes to the names of the son of Israel that we read the previous parasha, and then it shows that there is a relation between the exile in Egypt. Then after the coming out of Egypt, we studied this in the yeshiva, but it shows that in fact the exile of Egypt is just a parenthesis on the journey of the son of Israel that are going to the promised land to proclaim the name of God, the whole same message since the book of Bereshit. And the first 6 weeks of the book of Shemot, Exodus, are called after the initials of the parashot, the 6 first parashot, that tells us about the process of the first redemption and getting out of the exile from Egypt, or getting Egypt out of us, as we are going to study. And those 6 weeks are called the Shovavim. Shovavim is, according to the initial of the 6th portion, Shemot, Vaira, Bo, Beshalar, Yitro, and Mishpatim. So it's a journey, and it's like a deliverance, because Shovavim is also related to like being Shovav, which means to be turbulent, like a turbulent child. Something is going on, and it's a lot of turmoil during those 6 weeks that are really hinting at the turmoils of our soul. And this is why I'm going to share with you a text from the Ari HaKadosh, the eminent Kabbalist from the 16th century from Sfat. And I'm talking here about biblical Kabbalah, not witchcraft or whatever. Biblical Kabbalah, which is the fourth interpretation of the Torah, the fourth level of interpretation of the Torah, the Sod level, the secret level that really reveals the Messiah at each interpretation and page. So Egypt is likened to a womb from which a collective Israelite soul emerge on its path to maturity. This is about working our salvation. And we start with the first verse of Exodus, which is, and these are the names of the son of Israel coming to Egypt with Jacob. Each man and his household came. So the Ari HaKadosh starts and says, inasmuch as there are 70 facets to the Torah, 70 way of interpretation, and one among them is what we call allusion, allegory, it's remez in Hebrew. So the descent of the Israelites into Egypt alludes to the embryo, the fetus, while it is still in his mother's womb, in between those traits. What does it mean? Egypt means Mitzrayim. It's Mitzrayim in Hebrew, that means narrowness, dire straits. It's based on the verse in Jeremiah. So it is our confinements, limited border. So it is therefore an allegory for the confinement of the soul as it leaves its place, its native place from beside the Father, and descends into the confinements of physicality of our words, our physical words, and our body. So the soul, while it is expanded and has a very nice place with the Father, is just as to go and to enter our body and our physical body. So this is Mitzrayim. So with this, continues the Ari HaKadosh, we can interpret the phrase, and these are the names of the son of Israel, as referring to the abilities, the different characteristic faculties of the soul. For in a Jewish tradition, we said that the body possesses 248 limbs, that corresponds to the 248 positive commandments of the Torah, and 365 sinews and ligaments that correspond to the 365 negative commandments of the Torah. So the soul is built the same way, and with all those abilities and faculties, those faculties of the soul who came into Egypt, came to Egypt, just is being incarnated, if we want, into Egypt. So if we understand that Israel refers to the soul itself, then the sons of Israel, they are the characteristics of this soul, because we always have the same thing on the physical aspect and on the spiritual aspect, like the physical Jerusalem and the heavenly Jerusalem. So here we have to consider that Israel is the soul, and Egypt is our body, is our physical world. So they came with Yaakov. Who is Jacob in our verse? He refers to the fact that they enter the child when it is still in its mother's womb, with Yaakov. So what is this Yaakov representing here? He represents the Yetzer HaTov, meaning the good side, that is like an internal aspiration that we have in our soul to come back to the Father. Our soul is yearning to come back to the Father. And why Yaakov? Because Jacob is the carrier of the Messianic vision. It's the desire that we have to serve him, and it represents here Jacob. Then the verse continues and say, coming rather than who came, meaning in the past. Why? Because it is a process. It means that the more a person continues to mature, the more his soul enters and expands in his vessel, and the more the neshama, which is the third level of the soul, and we develop all this in our classes on biblical Kabbalah, the more the soul takes its place, the more the maturity, and then the nefesh, which is the lower level of the soul, diminish. This is the deed of the flesh. And we have this allusion in Ephesians 4:13, until we all arrive at the unity implied by trusting and knowing the Son of God, knowing in the sense of a deep connection, intimate connection, at full manhood, at the standard of maturity set by the Messiah's perfection. We will then no longer be infants tossed about the waves and blown along by every wind of teaching, at the mercy of people clever in devising ways to deceive. So it means that the souls slowly is taking place and alluding to a process of spiritual maturity in us. So this is also, continues the Ari Kadosh, this is the meaning of the verse, he forms the spirit of man within him, implying that the more the embryo develops and grows, the more the soul enters in it. Our verse therefore says, coming into Egypt, meaning that it is like a continual process, for the soul's faculties enter little by little. We work our salvation, work out our salvation. We make it grow, we sanctify each day, and this is the process of maturity. So here lies Israel's mission according to the divine will, which we call Ratzon Elokit, the will of God, to help man throughout his history to leave this narrowness, Mitzrayim, that is imposed by the name Elohim. What does it mean? The name Elohim is the name that is midadin, meaning all the natural laws, the rigor, the laws, physical laws, physicality, whatever. Elohim is about some structure. While we are called to leave this dimension to enter that of the name of Yud Ke Vav Ke, which is the name of expansion, mercy, and revelation of Messiah, because the name Yud Ke Vav Ke is associated with the Messiah. So the permutation of the word Ratzon means will, means it reveals to us, it means we can turn the letters, put the letter in another order, and it means tzinor, which is a channel, meaning the more our channel, or the more our vase is clean, the more we can channel the will of God in our own life, daily life. So tzinor and channel are two very important concept, because in order to do the will of God, we need to be a proper channel, and when we want to do the will of God, which is Ratzon, we become a proper tzinor channel, and then the neshama can expand. So for this reason, the Kabbalah tells us, it is not good for man to remain alone, Genesis 2:18. So what does it mean? The man will leave his mother. Exile is the man-mother relationships, continued Ari, Whereas Geula, which is deliverance, is the man-wife relationship, very important. When we are a child, we are about ego. We want to receive. So this is the relation between the son and the mother, or the child and the mother. He is only receiving to build his ego. But when we grow up, we need to leave this ego, and we need to leave this state of only receiving for the ego, but to exchange it for emulating the nature of God, which is to share. Then we start to grow up in maturity when we start to share and to influence and to give around us. This is the natures of God. So we have birth, when the child is becoming an adult, a fully developed body. Then at this point, the Torah is referring to this growth, to each man and his house, referring to the body, which has become a house for the soul. So then after, the word came indicates that at birth, all the soul's faculties fully enter the body. And then it says, the story continues, and it says that a new king arose over Egypt in Exodus 1:8. This refers to the evil inclinations. We have the good inclination coming with Jacob. This is our deeper inner aspiration to come back to the Father. And then you have the evil inclination. This is the works of the flesh. And he's also called another new king, is an old and foolish king in Ecclesiastes 4:13. So the evil inclination is coming. This is our will to receive only for the self over Egypt, meaning also when the person is in the womb, the person will have the choice to choose when he's mature, when he's adult, between good and bad, who did not know Joseph. This refers to the Holy One in our case. And he said to the people, meaning to all the powers of the impurity, all the bad, the Yetzer Hara who wants to draw us, or the lust and everything that we have in our heart, behold, the people of the children of Israel, meaning the faculties of the soul that are here to unveil and reveal the holiness of God, are more numerous and powerful than we are. So what did this evil inclination do? In the story, he enslaved us, and we are slaves of our sins. And the word pharaohs is built from the same letters of nek, oref, and of pera, bad mouth, meaning that we are like a stiff neck and we don't want to repent. And so this is the Yetzer Hara that is inside us. This is the deeds of the flesh that are inside. And they build cities for Pharaoh, meaning they started to build some bad inclination towards sins. Also, pitom refers to the mouth, pi tehom. It's the mouth of the tehom, the abyss. So this is all the lust and the eating, drinking, all the pleasure of the flesh, which strengthen and give food to the evil inclination. And the abyss is just taking and swallowing without end. And we can read in Philippians 3:19, they are headed for destruction. Their God is their belly. They are proud of what they ought to be ashamed of, since they are concerned about the things of the world. Then it says, continuing saying, but the more they, meaning the powers of impurity and the bad inclination, afflicted them, enslaved them. They enslave and they drown all the good ability of the soul, and the more they multiply, the more they spread forth. For the more the body develops, the more the soul manifests itself within. Meaning that the more the fight is going on, if the Yetzer Hatov is winning, then it expands and the Neshama can shine in our body. So what does it mean, all this story? I'm not going to continue the text because it's quite complicated after, but it means that we are called, and this is our mission when we come on this earth, to rectify our sinful nature, our Yetzer Hara, the bad inclination, work out our salvation. That is the whole message of the Brit Hadasha. The Torah was given to teach us how to control our bodies. Do not eat that way, do not marry the wrong way, do not commit adultery, steal, and so on. While the Brit Hadasha was given to us to work on our midot, to work on our character feature through the circumcision of our hearts by the work of our Messiah and the word of our Messiah. He has given us the ability to discern our bad behavior at the light of His Spirit, but He has also given us wonderful tools to help us even stronger. And this is called the Torah Nefesh in Judaism. This is really some teaching that you don't find in Christianity because it's only based on ancient Jewish sources and on Kabbalah, biblical Kabbalah, that really teach us about to understand on how our soul, and we have different level of souls from the Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama, and to more. And this is, we learn with those tools how to rectify this according to the Torah, in order to let our superior level of soul, the neshama, which come directly from the Father, shine in our nefesh, in our body. She will take more place. So for this, I want to share with you one of our class that we do in the course, Restoration of the Soul According to Jewish Sources. And for this, I'm going to share about the fixing, the reparation, the tikkun of the thought, talking about our thoughts. So we need to go to the thoughts. First of all, we have to understand that it is the person himself. It is always in motion. And Chazal, the Jewish sages, tell us that man thinks according to his heart. His heart expresses his deep will. What the will, in fact, is the root of all things. This is located at the upper part of the tree of life, the keter. We mentioned this in previous videos also. So I encourage you to watch the videos one after one in order to build like a renewing of the mind, and to register to the studies to go really deeper. So this is the root that expresses the thoughts. The whole personality, our whole personality is modeled according to what we want exactly. What is our inner deep will? We can try to change our thoughts, but it's not the thoughts that we need to change, but the deep desire and will of our soul. If it is this desire, that creates the reality we live on. We create our own reality. This will is inaccessible because it is part of a hidden part, like the divine will of God is located at the upper part of the tree of life. And it is inaccessible sometimes because we don't know exactly what we want in life. We're not sure. When this will, which is ratzon, as we saw, same as tzinor, channel, is changed, then everything changes. And let me read this passage in number 1539. When you have this fringe, talking about the tzitzit that are on the talit, you shall look at it and remember all the commandments of the Lord to do them. And you shall not follow the desires of your heart and of your eyes to be led astray. In fact, it should be written the opposite. First you look with your eyes, then you covet, you sin. No, it says here that it's the heart, from the heart that everything comes. Like in Matthew, it's said again, the Brit Hadashah, for out of the heart come evil thoughts, murders, adultery, fornication, thefts, false witnesses, slander. So what does it mean? It means that we are given to see what in fact we deeply at the inside of us want. There is never something that arrives by chance. If suddenly we come across these images, this event, those things, like a quarrel, like this or whatever, it is because sometimes something deep inside us long to see these things, something that is not purified. And how can we change this? Through meditation. We need to go to the root of our will to understand. And this is all the spiritual work to which we are called to fix the root of our will, to fix really the inner desire of the soul, the fight between the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer Tov. And this is about working out our sanctification, that the Torah Nefesh, all the Jewish sources, can help us through it. So in truth, we also need to understand that everyone has an inner aspiration to connect to the original light. We want to come back home. But since we don't know exactly how to do this, we're trying to get all kind of these bits of light, but through the wrong way, through the will of receiving for oneself only, which is the lowest degree of impurity that cannot keep the light because the vessel breaks. The body falls in the crookedness because the heart is crooked. So we need to learn what our will, to change the root of our will, and to start to want to emulate God's nature by sharing and giving. Then there is another intermediate level, which is half good, half evil. This is the struggle between the flesh and the spirit. This is something that we can change. It is the struggle between the deeds of the flesh and the spirit, and we can change it through righteous deeds and mitzvot, through studying the Torah, and also with the circumcision of the heart operated through the spirit in Yeshua. When the person sanctifies his flesh through these things, then the lower level of the fleshly deeds just leave, and it's not nourished anymore. This is what is expressed in James 4:7. Submit yourself before to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. And by the way, all the epistle of James, Yaakov speaks of the Torah and the mitzvot. So we cannot think other than what we are in fact. That is, if we are formed and modeled by this lower level, which correspond to what we call the will of the serpent, and that is of receiving for one's ego only, we cannot think rightly, and by the way, we'll have a lot of troubles in our relationship around us. Our thoughts will be a reflection of who we are deep inside. So this snake, Mishra de Rivia, the snakes, the will of the snakes, correspond to the foreskin also that we must throw on the ground. With the circumcision of the heart, we can work really on this intermediate level, as it says in Colossians 2:11, and in him you were circumcised with the circumcision not made by hand, but with the circumcision of the Messiah, which is the stripping of the body of the flesh, Mitzrayim. Having been buried with him in baptism, you will also raise up with him and with him through faith in the power of God, who raised him from the death caused by sin. By entering into holiness, the will leaves its egoistic ego and seeks to bless, to share, to be interested, and to feel the needs of others. And this is important for us to understand, that to control our lives, we need to control our will, and then our thoughts will change, and we won't be living the reality that we have been living until now. The person changes, no longer thinks in a selfish way, begins to feel the needs of others, and gradually comes to naturally put into practice the commandments to love his neighbor as himself. So how can we know our will? How can we know our inner self? By examining our thoughts. What do we think? Jealous, adulterous, quarrelsome? What are we thinking all day long? All this we study, and we give tools in the studies of the course of the restoration of the soul according to Jewish sources, Tikkun HaNefesh. So therefore, we will be able to take care of our will this way. Okay, so there is a lot of exercise that we do, and it is very, very deep course. We also learn not to put away or to push away our bad thoughts, but on the opposite, to examine them, to understand what is the root of all this, and knowing that at the end we have powerful spiritual weapon to fight it, like it says in 2 Corinthians 10, for the weapons with which we fight are not carnal, but they are powerful by the virtue of God to overthrow strongholds of our ego. We overthrow reasonings and every ego that rises against the knowledge of God, and we bring every captive thought to the obedience of Messiah by letting him transforming our being. So this is a little bit the lesson, and I'm continuing of during those coming parashot that are teaching us how to remove Egypt from us. So do you want to know more about this training that would allow you to discover your calling, to know the root of the soul, to understand why you're facing some situation that you cannot get rid of, how to get transformed really sincerely in truth, something durable? If you want to know all of this, to heal, to remove the sadness, to remove the depression sometimes that come, and understanding why it comes, we can help you with the help of God, with the tool that He gave us, to the Jewish tradition, to all the beautiful Torah that we have. We can help to experience a true sanctification, working out our sanctification. So really, we encourage you to register to this class. And in addition, and soon we will offer some support group in live for the people registering to this training. It is optional, but it can be a plus. Also highly recommended, as we will deepen some parts of the teachings of the lessons you will receive through videos and PDF. Work together as a group and some issues, pray one for another, and much more benefits such groups, warm groups, can bring. So keep tuned, it's going to be soon open. So if you feel that you need to change, to need to purify yourself, you need to want to expand your vessel, to receive this neshama elokit, this divine will, in order to shine for you and for your surrounding, to be a light in this world, this class is for you. And we all need this, because we are all in the same boat, that of salvation in Yeshua, and Baruch Hashem, He gives us beautiful tools. So thank you very much. Study Torah and work out your salvation. We've got all tools that you want. I know that you have a lot of things in the English-speaking world, but this comes straight from Israel, and I think you could benefit from it. Thank you very much, and Shabbat Shalom.